How to dominate your first 6 months as a realtor on this episode of Major Money Matters. All right, welcome back to another episode of Major Money Matters, and I'm welcoming a special guest, Christopher Allmaier with Berkshire Hathaway. Chris, thanks for being on, and thanks for being a guest today. I think you're going to share a lot of insights. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Major. I appreciate you. You know, it's
Awesome
a crazy
stuff.
market. Things are changing, so I'm here to talk what I can.
Absolutely, and you are excelling probably in the most challenging market that we have seen in years in real estate. And I want to talk to you just about your background, how you're doing, what you're doing. And let's talk numbers right here. Let's get numbers out of the way first. This is your 6 months in since your first deal closed. You've closed 7 deals in 6 months. So averaging about a little over 1 per month. Okay.
Right.
And doing extremely well. And I want to read a statistic here according to Housing Wire, and why I wanted to talk to you, because I saw this statistic come out from Housing Wire just last week. Most agents, this is based on a research done by Housing Wire, most agents seldom sell homes, according to a new study published by the Consumer Federation of America last week. On average, for all areas studied, 70% of agents sold 5 or fewer homes in the past year, and 49% sold only 1 or no homes. Analysts have similarly concluded that the top 20% of agents are responsible for 80 to 90% of the transactions. So the top percent of realtors are eating well.
Right.
And then, frankly, there are a lot of realtors that are struggling, and you're doing so well. And first of all, congratulations on your success. But I want to go back a little bit. First of all, can you tell us your age?
Yeah. I'm only 19 years old.
Yeah. You're 19 years old.
I know.
This is going to be straight.
At 18, so I hit it right on. I mean, I wanted to make it known that I was in this business. You know, being younger pushes you. It really does.
Awesome stuff. So you're 19 years old. I didn't know you were that young. I didn't know.
Wait, so you're like, wait, now I got to double think.
Wait, what? You're younger than my son. This is incredible. Incredible job. Okay. So basically all of your transactions have been for people who are older than you are.
Of course.
But let's go back a little bit. Before you got into real estate, tell us why you decided to get into real estate, and what were you doing when you got in, or when you started to take on real estate?
Yeah, so I got into real estate just from a passion side of things. I mean, I have text from me being 12, 13 years old, reaching out to one of the biggest realtors now. And I actually looked back on it a couple months ago, and it's so funny because I was texting them while I was in class, and I was like, hey, how can I get to where you are? Because this is what I want for my future. I want to help people. I want to get them into homes. I want to be that life that I see, and I know that social media and everything has been so blown up. And so once you get into it, it's a little different. There's a lot more struggles, things that go into the back end, and you got to figure it out quick. So my passion more drove me into it more than anything, rather than I would say the glamour and the money or the business side of it, if that makes sense. I more just wanted to help people, and that's what got me.
Awesome stuff, man. Phenomenal. Now, your parents are not into real estate or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay,
not at all.
Because, when I say things like, hey, you're 19 years old and you're doing what you're doing, people immediately try to come up with their excuse. And so you have not been, I've worked some deals with you. These are not clients that you're being spoon fed or anything like that. This is you out hustling and following up and everything, and really doing the work kind of, on your own. Of course, there's some mentorship from your brokerage and stuff like that. So let's talk about that. Many people, when they get licensed, they have this question of, hey, where do I go and what brokerage do I join, and everything. You settled on Berkshire Hathaway. Tell me why you went to Berkshire Hathaway.
First off, I interviewed, I think, 4 or 5 different brokerages. I mean, it
Okay.
was just, I couldn't just do one, and I really was looking at a few of them and trying to weigh the pros and cons of what they don't tell you on the back end in school. Whenever you're going through and getting your license, they don't really tell you there's such things as desk fees and these huge MLS fees and all of these fees that go into it. And splits, that was never explained to me until I finally got into Berkshire Hathaway. My branch manager, whenever I was interviewing, I never had gotten told what a split was. And she explained it to me and broke it down and what it meant to cap as well. And once you hit this certain amount paid into the brokerage, you get 100% of your commission. And I had no clue what that meant. And I had interviewed at that point with 4 other brokerages. And I was like, you're done. Like, this is it. This is the information that I've been missing out on. And this was directly what's going to affect me. And they
Mm.
provided classes, a calendar. I mean, I went for a month before I actually got my license. I went every day to their classes that they provide at Berkshire Hathaway. And
Mhm.
that's what made me fall in love with the company and with the people and the culture. The culture really drew me in as well. So just making sure that you understand the finance side of it, and then the culture and all of that will fall in line, but understanding that there's such thing as caps and desk fees and things that you've got to put out in the business to make money back. And that's something that wasn't explained.
That's amazing. So, there it was your branch manager's kind of transparency about educating you about the money side that
Yep.
really made you go with Berkshire Hathaway. I think that's a talking point for anyone, just to be transparent, because just like your branch manager's building a team and everything, I build a team, and I try to be as transparent with people as possible about what to expect. When you're actually in business. Okay, now, so you're with Berkshire Hathaway. You decided to do this. You're all in. Um, let's talk about your philosophy around your business. Why do you think? First of all, again, according to the statistics, if somebody is closing 5 or 6 or 5 loans per year, and you've done 5 greater than 5 in the past 6 months, you're closing twice as much business as the average realtor.
Right.
So, what are you doing, that you found success, and what's your philosophy generally around business?
Right. So what's helped me the most is not going into it as looking at people as dollars. That's one
Yeah.
thing that I see all the time. Looking at people and not looking at what they need is what I see, at least from just people in the business, and especially being in the Keller market. I live in Keller, so it's very competitive out here. I mean, you have to provide, you have to follow up, you have to do what you have to do in order to provide for the client. And whenever I look at people and I hear talk about, hey, from other realtors, I want to hit a number, or I want to hit this, there's goals, and that's great, but you've got to have their needs first, the client. And that's what I think has what's helped me separate myself from every other realtor that might be having the open house on the same road as me. Is it's
Mm.
genuine. I want to have a conversation. We're going to talk about market. We're going to get into negotiations. We're going to do all the things. But all of my closings have been from open houses because I'm just talking with people. That's it. I mean, you cannot go right into it and go, the best time to buy is right now or next month, or and their best time to buy is whenever their lifestyle is, whenever they want to buy and they can buy and what's comfortable. And that's where I have a good talking point. I feel that I've kind of figured that out a little bit more than going into it desperate. You know what I mean? You just got to
Yeah,
go into it.
absolutely.
That's it.
So you brought up a point there. You said all of your transactions have come from open houses. So have all of your transactions been on the buy side?
So I have a listing
Okay.
right now, but
Okay.
I've done all buy sides. Yes.
Perfect. So your buy side, your transactions have come from you sitting open houses,
Mhm.
and people coming into those open houses. Now, the open houses you sat were not your listings, right?
Mm-mm.
They were somebody else's listings. You were sitting for that person.
Right. And a lot of brokerages actually won't allow for that. So that's another one too. If I ever decided, which I don't have any plans to in the future, but to leave Berkshire, I would have to ask up front, can I do open houses for other brokerages? Because that is huge. Because there's some things where you might not be covered with E&O insurance, etc. So some brokers don't allow for that, but that would have ruined my business because my office is in downtown and I live in Keller.
Right. So
Yeah.
these were not open houses of people who were necessarily at Berkshire Hathaway.
Oh no, I've done in every single brokerage, I bet you in DFW Metroplex I've done. I mean, it's made connections to at Realtors too and helped my deals go through. So
How does that now tell me, how does that work? Now everybody's out here like, where am I getting business? Where am I getting we in the business we call them leads, which
yes.
word I don't necessarily like to use, but because they're people, they're families.
Yes.
But you know, tell me how, because if another agent is going to allow you to sit their open house, there has to be some trust there because they have to make sure that you're not turning away, a buyer or something like that. Tell me how you gain the trust of another agent in order for that agent to say, yes, I'll let you sit my open house.
Well, it's funny that you asked because it's going to sound so opposite of what you just said, but a lot of
Uh-huh.
agents just send a text and I just say, hey, I would love to help market and help out. Within that text, oh yeah, hold it open this weekend. Don't even meet, no phone call, no anything. They just let me do it. And you could take it as you will. If I'm the listing agent, I'm going to do a little more background check, but I give them my license number. So they might look me up as well and see my transaction history. I don't know how they do it on the back end. But one of them too, that works for Compass that you work hand in hand with as well. I've done her open houses and she has been one who has called me, made sure that, hey, you know what you're doing, right? Hey, I want to make sure you're providing for the client, right? And I'm like, yes, we have best interests. And that in turn, those connections have helped me even meet lenders like you and
Right.
people that just helped me grow in my business because it's more collaborative than you think with agents and lenders as well.
This is very interesting. By the way, if you're listening to this, me and Chris did not get on and say, hey, I'm going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. We did not. This is not scripted. So this is just a conversation among friends. But I find this very fascinating. So if there's somebody that's a new agent out there,
Right.
really, you just asked. And please take this the right way. You were naive enough just to ask
Oh
and
yeah.
not worry about all the other stuff, and you're doing extremely well. Not only do you have not only have you closed deals, but you also have like buyers in pipeline and people like stuff under contract and people that are out looking and everything. So you are doing absolutely fantastic in a challenging market. If there was another tip that you would give a new agent, in this market, that's something that's helped you out, what do you think it would be?
The biggest tip that I would give is you're going to go through the 7 stages of grief with this business. I don't even know if I said that right, but it's the truth. Seriously. Every person that I talk to that is new, that's in my office or they come to me for help, I see them going crazy or they're like, I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting anything. As soon as you start to expect nothing, things fall into place, if that makes
Yep.
sense. If you
Yep.
expect that person to walk into the open house on your second one and on your second open house that you've ever done, and then boom, get a buyer client and close in a month, they're going to feel that energy and go, you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I don't want to
Yeah.
work with you now. It's
Yeah.
underlying point. You
Yeah.
can't do that. You can't.
I think people sometimes underestimate. We call it I sometimes refer to it as commission breath. They're only every word that comes out, you're trying to get a commission, and not just advising the client to do what's best for them and to kind of walk them through this and help them rationalize with their feelings and what the market is. Sometimes people have beliefs about the market that are simply untrue. And you really have to be armed with data, but you also have to be, graceful enough to let the data speak to them for itself and not force them, into something. So, so awesome. All right. So 2024, I'm putting you on the spot, Chris, because we have not talked about this. All right. 2024. What do you think your 2024 looks like? Have you set any goals or things you want to do or objectives you want to accomplish this year?
Yeah, so actually I've went through a couple goals that I've had, and I want to do more. I'm a numbers guy, so I like to do numbers wise, even though it doesn't go with most of what I've said, which sounds weird,
Mhm.
but I like to hit a number goal, and that's how I base my sub goals, is what I call them. So the number goal, and then you break it down into a few different categories, and then that's whenever you have your dailies, if that makes sense. So your daily tasks, your daily goals, then your weekly goals, and your monthly goals. I had even just texted you before and was like, hey, I just finished my week scheduling on my phone, and I was like, do you want to hop on today, or do you want to hop on a little bit later on this week too?
Yeah.
And that goal, the big goal that you set, has to trickle down to the dailies and into the weeklies. You cannot focus on just one big goal. You know what I mean? I choose not to say my goal, because if I
Yep.
don't hit it, I'm going to definitely regret telling
I'm gonna
everybody in the office or the
I'm gonna
world.
pull it out of you. I'm gonna pull it out of you slowly.
You better not, mate. I know you're good at what you
So,
do, but I got to keep it quiet there.
so and I was pretty in me when you sent me that text. I was like, oh man, you're organized and you're succinct. How important to the new, there are people who throw mud at the wall and hope something sticks, and they're just unorganized and without vision. How important is organization and planning to, I mean, somebody who's in sales or in real estate or something like that? How important is that? And how do you execute that? How do you trickle down? How do you mechanically walk me through that and how you do that?
Yeah, so for me personally, what works is setting everything on a timeline. I like timelines. I like to put everything on my calendar. I have, next month already planned, but whenever you have those big classes planned, such as we have meetings in our office that go over market updates, etc., and stuff like that. So that's already planned in my calendars, but the dailies aren't until I get to a Monday like today. I want to plan out that week every at least Sunday or Monday, and try to really gather what I'm going to do for the week and what goals I'm going to accomplish. Because if you don't, in a business like this, I mean, you don't have anyone down your throat going, hey, you need to do this, this, and that. And you know what I mean? So if you don't have that motivation or organization, at least for me, I don't think I would get anything done. I need to have a checklist and a timeline with everything.
Awesome stuff, man. Well, I didn't
Yeah.
want this to go long, Chris, but I wanted to really just have an opportunity to speak to realtors who may be struggling in this market because you're killing it, and I can tell. Like I will tell you that a blind dog can find a meal every now and then, but you're no blind dog. You are doing the work. I see what you do. I see your work ethic. I see your follow through. Even when I talk to your clients, when you refer me clients, I'm talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, me and Chris talked about that. We had that conversation. And I'm like, well, wow, the clients that you refer to me are more prepared and more educated than some realtors that have been in this business 20, 25, 30 years old. And you actually care about your clients. So I want to say congratulations to you. I'm proud to know you. And I'm excited for this year, man, and what this year is going to turn around. Thanks for sharing your experience and what you've done and how to help other realtors. Any closing thoughts or anything you want to share that we did not cover as part of our conversation?
Keep going. As a realtor, that's the biggest thing. There's going to be months where you don't do it up front, but just keep going. And that's the biggest thing that I can say to any new agent or anyone with any goal they have, is just keep doing it until it happens. That's it.
Perfect. Awesome stuff, Chris. Hey, look, man, you and I got to get back to work.
That's right. I know.
All right.
I'm writing up my open house text scripts now. I'm writing up everything. I mean, I got to follow up with clients. I just had them this weekend. So I do what I got to do.
Congratulations, man. We'll talk soon.